what was the point where you said Mark and Lori are the best fit for me? They're the best fit for DetraPel for David.
When I was going on to the show, I did a ton of research. I think for me, when I talk about being meticulous and being really strategic, it goes to a whole new level. I rewatched every single episode in history of Shark Tank before I went on.
Wow.
I had already seen probably every season up to season 6 because I actually interned for a company that was on Shark Tank in high school. So I was quite familiar with the process. But I really took the time to go rewatch every single episode and to write down every single question that was ever asked by every single shark, and to see what answers worked and what answers didn't work. And then I took it a step further because this is where I believe empathy is taken to a whole nother level. I then did personal research on every single shark that I eventually found out was going to be on my segment. And when I say personal research, I mean I dug into like what their kids play for sports, what they do for like on their free time. I wanted to be able to connect on every single level, and I did it subliminally. It's very not noticeable in the segment that was aired, but for example, I did it where when I'm pitching Mark and I mentioned that I'm from Philadelphia, I point to him because he's from Pittsburgh.
Hmm.
Uh, and I remember I said uh, something about having to do with moms or something like that to Lori. So I specifically picked on key moments, um, or key emotional things that I thought these people would react to. And I think I was right, but again, these guys are doing so many different things that you could have picked them a handful of things to bring up. But I think that's kind of the difference between pitches that do well and don't, the ability to connect to the audience, which isn't done often, and it's hard to do, rightfully so. Um, so I think when I was doing all this research and I found all the answers, I crafted my pitch. I thought I knew every answer. I went and pitched in front of some of the larger investors that I knew of, or some of the um, bigger mentors I had. I had a couple of mentors that were some of the most successful people in the Philadelphia region. One of which had a multi-billion-dollar exit of his own in his 30s or 40s. Um, and so I had them grill me, and I did that like on 4 or 5 separate occasions. And so that really prepped me for the questions that I both expected and then didn't expect. Uh, and funny enough, I didn't get any of the questions that I prepped for.
But you do the research, you know your audience, and I think, like you said, trust, being clear, knowing your numbers, and then making sure that you know those small details to be able to connect with your audience. I mean, this has been a common theme of our whole conversation, David. It's being able to do the research and know what's going to stand out to the people you're trying to connect with. That it's just really, really smart. I wish more people kind of understood that. That's really the key. That's how you make it happen.
The
So
reality is
you
it's the only way to get close to someone, and it's the only way to show that you are just as serious as they are and you're not wasting their time, especially when they're in the upper position.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of times when people reach out to me, it's very clear that they have no understanding as to what I do and what my team does. It's just, they always want to take, but the more you can give, the better your chance of actually connecting is. Yeah. I'm
Absolutely.
with you 100%. So you make this deal, you strike the deal, 200K for 25% with Mark Cuban and Lori Grenier. Obviously, you're just off Shark Tank. You get a huge uptick in sales. You're scrambling. You're getting all the orders out. But I'm kind of curious, what was it like working with Mark and Lori after the deal was finished? Are they just like, here's the money, go have fun? How involved were they in the process of growing DetraPel?
It's tough. So there's a due diligence process after the show,
Mm-hmm.
which most people don't know about, and that's when you actually close the deal. You just pitch in front of them, and then you agree to somewhat of terms that are supposed to be there. Um, Very
So you have to
commonly,
sign
they change.
contracts. They probably have to confirm certain information you give is accurate, I
For
would
sure,
think, right?
yeah, they need to make sure that everything with you checks out. They don't have that time prior to when you're filming, but similarly, this is your time to kind of provide evidence or documentation or whatever it needs to be to show that you are legit and you're really running a business.
Mm-hmm.
Now, 75% of deals that appear to close on air actually don't close. So that's another
Wow.
big misconception. Yeah, it's a huge number. Only 15 deals per season close.
Wow.
My offer or my deal with Mark and Lori did not close either, for various reasons. One of which, and this is a common thing, from them, things if they don't add up, in some cases, it doesn't make the deal whole for them, and that makes sense. On the flip side, they also are very sharky. They'll, you agree to a straight equity deal, and most of the time that's not what you actually get. And so,
Hmm.
and I was already underselling the company, and I knew that going in, but I was happy to do it for the right partners.
Right.
And I thought Mark and Lori would be those two right partners. And so that's what I wanted going in, because I thought Mark could handle the kind of the science side and the industrial sales and the key strategic partnerships, whereas Lori could help me on the consumer and marketing side. Um, so, for when we started doing due diligence and things started not panning out, we got to the very end. It was pretty much in close to December's, a few weeks before my episode aired. It was a mutual agreement to pass. It made sense. I get why the deal fell through. Um, and then we got a notification that we were going to air in 2 weeks, and we started scrambling because we had nowhere close to the readiness that
Yeah.
we needed, and that was crazy. So the really saddening part, and the really unfortunate part of me kind of being so upset about not having the deal close, was quickly kind of reversed as we had to go into action mode and make sure that we were ready for the uptick in traffic that we thought we would have, and we did have. Actually surpassed what we thought we were going to have, which was nice. But one of the things that I realized was that, you know, with a lot of the deals, because the company that I was a part of, for example, during my high school career, when I was an intern that was on Shark Tank, and a couple of my friends that have been on Shark Tank, they all kind of say the same thing. And I've kept in touch with Lori's team and Mark's team. The reality is their team does everything. They're
Mhm.
not really that involved. And
Right.
for someone like Mark, that's understood because he's got hundreds of investments and hundreds of things going on. Um, so his team really takes care of everything. They have multiple lawyers, multiple business managers, you name it, they have it. And so what typically happens is if they see something's underperforming in your update, they'll kind of bring their team to help on that specific section, but they're not necessarily critical on making sure that you're doing X, Y, and Z 100% of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that makes sense. When you're a billionaire, you've got all these different organizations, investments. It's not surprising that there's a ton of due deal. It's the classic thing of watching someone buy a house on TV, they renovate it, they move in 30 minutes later. There's a lot that goes in before you move
Right.
into that house. Trust me. I remember when my wife and I bought our first house. She's like, "This is nothing like on TV." I'm like, yeah, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different. Okay, cool.
Right.
So before I let you go, I want to know, what's the future of DetraPel? What are you working on now? I'm sure you're working on something. You're continuously innovating. What are you into now, David?
Yeah, we do a ton that's not visibly shown on our website. So we are a protective coatings company. We create all types of coatings, and the goal is to become the largest, and really first and foremost, the largest protective coatings company in the world. Um, but the caveat to that is that we are the only, and that's what our IP is all about, the only company in the protective coating space globally that is not using fluorinated chemicals. So we are the only
Mm,
company that boldly states that we are completely PFC and PFAS free, which are cancerous chemicals that are found in 99% of bloodstreams, unfortunately, in the US.
mm.
Um, it's a big problem. If you look it up, you'll see massive multi-billion-dollar class action lawsuits against the companies like DuPont, 3M, Chemours, so on and so forth. So it truly is a big problem, and unfortunately, almost every single thing that you can think of today has some sort of chain of a perfluorinated chemical, and unfortunately, it's not needed. So it's really something that's harmful. Yes, it's cheap to make, and yes, it's been around for decades, almost a century. Um, but it's an outdated technology that can be outperformed, and without having to risk any health effects or environmental effects. And so that's what we do. We create all types of different coatings that are completely PFAS free. Not only fabric protectors, which are both applied by consumers or in the manufacturing phase. We also work like I said, we will work with like carpet manufacturers who will apply this during the manufacturing phase so that the end consumer buys the carpet that's already treated, so that you don't have to worry about when your dog or cat pees or poops on the carpet. It can come right off. But we also have antimicrobial coatings for hard surfaces. We created a disinfectant right before the pandemic hit, actually, along with a hand sanitizer. So that really picked up quite a bit, and helped us launch our retail campaign. But we're really a B2B company. That's what we do. We create
Yeah.
specialized coatings, specialty coatings for as many companies as you can think of, whether it's in agriculture, which you would think, how the hell do we have anything to do with agriculture? But we do. Military, defense, you name it. We are in a few different categories because our chemistry is super unique, and my R&D staff That's the biggest cluster, I guess, or group of people that I have in the company. It's my R&D staff. They drive a ton of innovation, and we have a lot of work going towards trying to become the leading edge company with cutting edge technology in the space that's completely different than what's been out there for the last 100 years.
Love it. Love it. Solving problems, biologically safe, environmentally safe, super, super powerful stuff. Thank you so much for watching. I'm glad you enjoyed this episode. I've got several other episodes right here for you. Smash one of these videos to make sure that you don't miss out on the tips, tools, and tactics of industry experts. Let's take that side hustle full time. Smash one of these links.